Good morning, good morning. Welcome to day 14 of 30 anchors in 30 days. Now, this is the training that gives you a platform for you to use your faith to bring transformation to the 11 most important life domains. Now, these 11 life domains are grouped into 3 relationship groups. Now, if you want to find out more about these 11 life domains, there's a training I've done which I am giving to you guys for free. On Instagram, just click on my bio. You will find a link there, 3 life relationships. Anywhere else, you will find a link right under this video. Hey, hi, buddy. Thank you very much for joining me. Yes, today we go straight into the last foundation for your marital life domain. And today's foundational truth is this: live with what your spouse does and not live to change them. I repeat, live with what your spouse does and not live to change them. And the text of scripture we're going to be coming around today comes from Galatians chapter 6 verse 2. Share each other's burden and in this way obey the law of Christ. Good morning once again, buddy. I know it's pretty early on your part of the world. I really appreciate you joining me this early. Thank you very much. Now, there are 2 things which we need to understand in this foundational truth of live with what your spouse does and not live to change them. Number 1 is this: whatever character defect or character flaw that we find in them, number 1, we don't beat them on the head on it. Meaning that it doesn't become the subject of conversation like, oh, I always tell you this, you don't do this. I always tell you this, you don't do this. I always tell you this, you don't do this. That's number 1. It does not become the subject of regular conversation that you beat your spouse on the head with. And number 2, it does not become the source of conversation with outsiders. I repeat. Number 2, it does not become the source of conversation with outsiders. Now, let me just tell you something. When you come into marriage, whatever character defects that you see in your spouse, just realize one thing: it may have a lifetime guarantee. Simple. It may have a lifetime guarantee, meaning that it may be there for the life of your spouse, that nothing about it is going to change. But if you can follow the train of what we've been going through over the past 3 days, number one, which was the first foundational truth that we tried to embrace, was the fact that once we say I do, God says that's his will. That is, once we come into marriage, it becomes God's will for us. And by it coming, thank you very much. And once it becomes God's will for us, God is able to provide us with every single grace that we need to succeed in that marriage. Meaning that if we come into a marriage and we find a character flaw within our spouse, because of the first foundation that we have established, that look, that marriage is God's will for us. That means God is able to provide us with all the grace that we need to excel in that marriage. Meaning that if there is a character defect that your spouse has and you want to live by virtue of this foundational truth, that is, live with what your spouse does and not live to change them, God is able to give you the grace, whether it is in terms of patience, whether it is in terms of wisdom to be able to navigate how you are going to deal with your spouse. I remember a story in which a counselor was telling about a husband in which his wife, because of her spending habits, got the family into significant debt. Now, the husband at that point in time we used to play golf regularly on the weekend, and in the bid to sort out the debt situation in the family, he basically stopped himself from playing golf and everything. And guess what? They said his friends would more or less be taunting him that, oh, imagine you become a weekend couch potato, you don't come out to play golf. Throughout, when the husband was trying to sort out that whole debt situation in the family, he never at any point in time mentioned to his friends that, look, oh, the reason why this is because my wife has gone ahead. Hey, thank you very much, Showing, for joining. He didn't mention at any point in time that, look, the reason why this is happening is because my wife has done this, etc. My wife got us into debt. No, throughout all that period, he basically was just covering his wife. And that's one thing you have to realize. The second point that I was making, that, look, you don't go out telling others. What you basically do as a spouse is you cover your partner. Whatever the character defect is, no matter how it is that it's affecting the family, your responsibility as a spouse is to cover your spouse. Now, realize one thing. The story I just told you, obviously, it must have been someone else. It was an outsider that told them. Yes, the outsider in this case was the counselor. So there is a caveat to the second point that I said, you cover your spouse and you don't bring it out. If you are in a counseling relationship, if you have someone that both of you respect together, that you both are in a counseling relationship, yes, you can bring it within the context of that. Now, one of the things I always try to encourage for couples is that, look, once the two of you get married, it is important that you have marriage mentors. Now, who are marriage mentors? They are simply people who are a bit ahead of you in the marriage journey, which both of you, and that's the most important thing, both of you have to respect these people. Meaning that it's not going to be a case of, oh, maybe the husband respects these people, the wife doesn't, the wife respects these people, the husband, no. Both of you have to respect them, because it is only then that both of you can trust whatever advice that you both get from them. And they are the ones in which, if you have character defects, character flaws that you want to bring in, these are the people that you can share it within the confines of that close trust relationship. And that's the one thing which we all have to realize. I know one of the popular things which flies about for a long while was the fact that they're like, look, whatever happens in the family needs to stay in the family. You don't need to bring outsiders into it. Yes, that is the problem. Is that is actually a smart idea that has been taken to the extreme. Now, in the past, what used to happen is you used to have in-laws, outlaws, everybody having a say in marriages, and then we went the other side of saying, no, we're not going to get anybody to have a say in marriage. But what the best recommendation really is, you should have limited people that you both of you trust, that you believe can speak into your life. And on the basis of that, you have those people who can speak into your marriage. For example, within my marriage, I have people like that. And the advantage that sort of gives is, if there are issues within the marriage, and it could be as simple as maybe the two of you are having a common challenge, you can have people who, on the basis of how they have also gone through their marriage journey, they can also give you ideas. They can also give you direction. Once again, today's foundational truth is this: live with what your spouse does and not live to change them. And the expression of this foundational truth is in two folds. One, whatever character defects that you find in your spouse, you don't make it the subject of everyday conversation of hitting them on the head with it. Oh, look, I always tell you this, you don't do this. I always tell you this, you don't do this. I always tell you this, you don't do this. And the second one, you don't make it a subject of conversation with outsiders, meaning that you are always ready to cover your spouse. And the only limitation to this second situation is if you have a close trust counseling or mentorship relationship, but both of you respect. The underlying thing here is both of you need to respect these people. So if it is people that both of you respect, yes, you can bring it within the context of getting advice on how to deal with it. And what you have to realize is that as much as you might say, oh, I want to get these people so that they can talk to my spouse, so that my spouse will change, what I want you to realize is that don't be surprised. The character defaults that you find in your spouse has a lifetime guarantee. And because it has a lifetime guarantee, you need to realize that sometimes what you need to do is actually go to God and pray to God for the grace for you to live within the marriage, not living grudgingly or feeling that you are under a sentence of death, but having the Jesus joy that God expects for every one of you. And with that, we come to the end of today's conversation. I really appreciate every one of you guys that has joined me today. And I pray that as you guys go out, I pray for a great time of fellowship in church for you guys. I pray that the rest of Sunday will be a great day of rest, preparing you for the next week. I pray that God is going to inspire your mind with ideas and wisdom for you to plan this week in a way that brings honor and glorifies Him. I pray for you guys. I pray for a wonderful day for you. Thank you very much for joining me, and I wish you guys a great day.